KNAC.com, the loudest.com on the planet. I am Francisco here, and I have the pleasure of talking to Paul Mazurkiewicz, drummer for the legendary death metal band Cannibal Corpse. How you doing, Paul?
I'm doing great, Francisco. Thanks for having me.
Hey, now my pleasure as a drummer. It's great to talk to you. I always really look forward to talking to other drummers because we could talk a little bit, little shop. You know what I mean? And
Sure, man. Sure.
so, first of all, coming up on the 15th release, Violence Unimagined. You guys have just put out a single that just, I think, shredded faces from like one point of the world to the other. How does it feel to put out some new music?
Well, it feels great, really. It's been way too long at this point, obviously. I mean, it's usually about 3 years, I guess, in between releases these days for us in a normal world, right? So the fact that we finally were getting something out and then the album will be out in a couple of months is really a good feeling. And thanks for the words, right? It's great to see the response so far from the fans and the press and everybody, really digging the new song and getting all excited for the release of the record. So it's great. It's much needed, I think, in a time like this to have some new music out. It really helps people out, I think, in so many ways, and we're just finally glad that it's making the light of day now.
No, that's very true. I think people that aren't really aware of like metal music as a whole, they might not realize it of the power that it helps and it reaches people. And like you pointed out, and like in these dark times, it really helps people get out of a dark spot.
Oh yeah, totally. It totally. I mean, yeah, right. The people that don't know, well, maybe they'll be converted, but right, for the fans, I mean, it's definitely much needed in these dark times, right?
Oh yeah.
So that is a huge thing in just for life, moving forward and staying positive and all that kind of stuff. To have new Cannibal Corpse music out there and something to look forward to. So it's a big positive.
Now, a year ago, before all this, uh, I hate to mention it by name, but this whole pandemic bullshit started. Did you guys already have a notion of starting to write a new record?
Well, yeah, ironically enough, I mean, when we finished the touring last, I guess at the end of 18, the whole plan was, right, we're going to start writing and everything and record in April of 19, or I'm sorry, April of 20. We finished touring in 19, right? So this was, when the pandemic hit, that was our down year. It was our year to work on new material, get in the studio and get it out there. So the crazy thing was for us, was we recorded in April, and obviously everything shut down and hit in March. Just about a month or so prior to us commencing with the recording. So for a minute there, everything was on track, up until March, and then it was like, oh my gosh, are we going to be able to get into the studio here? We're that close. We're just about done. We're putting the finishing touches on, and everything, and and then everything, goes down. So we were just concerned that we were not going to be able to even record at this point, So luckily we were able to. Luckily everything stayed on track, and we were able to record in April. Obviously, we had to push the release back a little bit here, which kind of, it is what it is. But that's when kind of reality almost set in a little bit more so, because like I said, we weren't one of these bands that got their tours cut off or, it's so unfortunate for the bands that were out, like, hey, we just put a new record out. We're out on tour. Oh, it's over. And now we got to go home and not do anything for a while. I mean, luckily we weren't one of those. And I feel
great.
for the bands that had to do that, so the fact that we were on that off year, I mean, when the pandemic hit and we're recording, we're thinking, oh yeah, this will be over. We'll probably be able to still put it out when we're supposed to and be out on the road by the end of the year. And, and then when finally November rolls around, of last year, and it was like, hey, this, we're not going to be able to get on the road and put the album out when we were supposed to. Then it's all setting in like, oh man, this sucks. you know yeah, the fact that we had that time off and we were able to get everything done is key, is huge. It was so huge to do that. So we're, like I said, we're just finally glad that it's going to see the light of day sooner than later, and not waiting, say, to figure out when the touring is going to happen. I mean, it's just really important to get the music out now. So yeah, we got fortunate that we were able to get the record done.
Yeah. So you were almost sitting on it for almost a year then.
Well, we recorded in April, and then we actually had, once we knew things weren't, as time progressed, like in the spring into the summer like that, we knew we weren't going to be going out on the road when we were supposed to. Then the talk is, well, hey, we're not going to be able to put this out in November and go out on the road. So we were actually still in the studio. So in a weird twist, it actually gave us a little more time to work on it, I guess.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because Erik wasn't going to have anybody coming into the studio at that point. Everything's getting canceled, and then what else has he got to do? And if we're getting the album, if the release date's getting pushed, well, then there's no pressing matter for it to get done, like by, a certain time. It was almost like, okay, well, hey, if we need a little more time to work on the mix or anything, then we will, and we did. So this was probably, definitely would have been the most time we spent on a record, and mostly due in part to, we had the time, and Erik was able to do that because there was nothing else going on, So that's we were supposed to have it out in November and be on the road, but and then it had to get pushed back, and so it was done probably around April, May, June, July, August. It was done maybe around August, I guess. So
That's a significant
sitting
amount
on it for a little while.
Yeah, it's a significant amount of time, and that's good that you sit on it for a while, and like you said, you kind of go back and retouch up some things. So that's I guess it worked out to your benefit, because I no doubt it's going to sound like an amazing record. Just the single that you guys put out, it just sounds so massive.
Awesome, man. Thanks. Yeah, I mean, I'm glad you like it. Yeah, it seems like everybody digs the new song, and I think everyone's going to really, really like this new record.
Yeah, and you mentioned Erik Rutan, who now is an official member of the band, and he was kind of that extra member, since considering he's like worked on 4 albums with you guys already, so he was pretty much part of the band, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, right? Big good friend of ours, and produced a few records, right? And then of course him filling in there for the last few tours there on the Red Before Black run there. So it was, he's no stranger to any of us, and he's, like you said, just a big, huge, big friend of all of ours, and has been for many years. So it was, it fit. He fit right back. He fit right in. It just fell into place. Of course, very easy in that way. I mean, because he's done everything else with us. Exactly. Now, now he's part of the band, and he wrote some songs and contributed, of course, and it's great to have him.
Yeah, well, from according to what I read, he wrote about 3 songs with you guys.
Yes, he wrote 3 songs, and he did the lyrics as well. So Erik contributed pretty good to this record.
So that's awesome. So being that he's recorded with you guys, or he mastered and produced all these albums with you guys. He was in the studio with you guys. He was on the road with you guys for Red Before Black, and you guys already had that bond. So it just, the transition of bringing him in just felt so smooth, right?
Oh, of course. It all felt into place as easy as it can be, really.
Nice. So let's talk about the artwork now. The artwork been a big part of Cannibal Corpse. I think it follows in the traditions of such bands like Dio and Iron Maiden, and Cannibal Corpse. You always having the artwork by Vince Locke. Tell me about the relationship that Cannibal Corpse has with Vince Locke, and why is it that you guys have stayed with him so long?
Oh, we have a very great relationship with him, obviously. I mean, I think that kind of shows just that we've been with him right since the beginning, or he's been with us, I guess. And he's kind of like another member of the band in that way. He's our visual guy. He knows what we're looking for, and he's easy to work with. He wants to please us. He wants to make us happy, and he'll do whatever it takes, for all of us just to work in conjunction to get to, get the product we're looking for. But, great having them. I mean, we love the consistency, of course. I mean, we hate to compare to anybody, but right, it's always great to have like Derek Riggs doing the Iron Maiden albums, and we always admired that growing up, and we like that, love that consistency. So I think that's been key, and it's been a huge plus for us. And I know the fans really enjoy that. So yeah, so I mean, Vince is he's just part of the team now, right? I remember when we first started working with him, or when I actually had to take over, kind of talking to him back after we after Barnes was out, he was kind of the guy, and then then it was, one of us, or, it ended up being me. And then, you just talk to him. And I remember getting a hold of him in the early days, like for Vile and Gallery of Suicide, where you always get a hold of him going, hey, man, we're going to be doing another record. You interested? I mean, you didn't want to assume anything. And, and his response was always, of course, like, well, yeah, of course, So it's funny to look now, years later, and how we work with him now. Now it's just a matter of getting, hey, Vince, we got a new one coming out. It's not even asking him anymore or anything like that. It's like, well, of course I'm doing it. I mean, and I think he knows that we're going to go to him, because he's been with us the whole time. So that's awesome to know that we all just get along and have that. Have that camaraderie in that way, and he just does a great job, of course.
Always.
So he did an amazing album with Violence Unimagined. I mean, this was one of those albums that we came up with the title, but we just didn't really have a concept. I remember coming up with the name and going, man, well, I know it's got to be brutal. I mean, how can it not? When a title, Violence Unimagined, it's going to have to be pretty sick here. So we just kind of let Vince, hey, Vince, here's the title, come up with some ideas or whatever. And he came up with a few. And then, of course, we just worked together and, sifted through and came up with what we got there. But
did he get to hear any of the music, like just to kind of influence him more, or?
No, it's funny because he's not. I know he listens maybe somewhat, but he's really not a huge death metal guy.
Oh, no.
I don't think he ever was.
That's surprising.
I mean, yeah, right. I mean, he likes music, but I don't really think he is a big death metal guy, and he's definitely didn't do this because, oh man, I love you guys and I love the music and I want to be your artist. I think it just more fell into place of we're on the same theme, the same page, theme wise, where we both want that common goal. We write some horrific lyrics, and we want some horrific titles, and we need that artwork to go with that. So if anything, there's been times where we would give them what we got. Like this time around, I think we might have just gave him the title. This is it. It's got to be, Violence Unimagined. What comes to your mind, right? And then I think on other occasions we may send them like, oh, hey, here's all the song titles, or here's some lyrics, kind of a thing, but never the music, right? And he's never been inspired in that way. So usually it's just kind of like he needs the title, and that's the most important thing. And I think he'll come up with something because that's what he does.
Yeah. Oh, and just then when you get that final product, you're like fucking blown away. You're like, what the? Because I seen the uncensored artwork too. Like the censored version is insane in itself, but then you see the uncensored artwork, and it's just like, oh my god.
And that's what we wanted to. We did this. We're always one. We kind of know in the back of our minds we probably will need a censored version, but at the same time, we don't. We just find it so ridiculous that you have to have that.
Yeah.
So when we came up with it, it was like, Vince, go for it. We need some brutal. We need it to be sick. We need it to be crazy. And then there we go. We had one cover. It was the uncensored version. You give it to Metal Blade, and then of course they come back on. Well, yeah, we love it, but we're probably not going to be able to sell this in Germany, and it's not going to be in this store. Yeah. So guess what, guys? We need a censored version. So it's like go figure. But
you've done that for a few records too, like Tomb of the Mutilated, I think, Gore Obsessed, Corpse Grinders' first debut, Vile. So like but you guys do a pretty good job of censoring it. But then when you see the vast difference, oh my god,
Oh yeah, man. Yeah, I mean, in a way, it works out because you get another piece of art, which is cool.
Yeah, totally.
But in a perfect world, it would be just great to have the one cover. It is what it is. You get that brutal cover, and that's that.
Well, you know, you love the artwork so much, that's why you end up getting the T-shirt. That's where the merchandise comes in, and like, oh, the,
Well, that's it,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
You got plenty to work with when it comes to the merch, you know.
yeah,
So you got your uncensored version, your censored version, and everything in between.
yeah,
So
yeah.
that works.
Yeah. So just let everybody know, man. Get on those pre-orders, man. They're happening now for the new release, Violence Unimagined, through Metal Blade Records. Your 15th album with them. You guys, your throughout your legacy, you guys have been with Metal Blade. Tell us about the relationship with Brian and Metal Blade.
Oh, amazing. I mean, it's like pretty much, you know, they're family. He's family. I mean, it's more than even friendship at this point. You know, we've known him for forever, of course, and Mike Faley that works there, and Tracy Vera, and you know, and then so many other guys that have been there for years. But obviously Brian, you know, being the guy that you know signed us, and you know, like I said, he's become a friend, and then he's become really family. You know, I mean, it's been an awesome relationship, and we're very happy to be on Metal Blade and still be on Metal Blade. And you know, we just you got all the creative freedom that you want as a band working with a label like Metal Blade, independent like that, and you know, and just great people that care about music, and you know, got great morals, and I mean, just you can't say enough, you know.
Mhm.
So it's been an amazing run, and you know, we're very happy to still be a part of the Metal Blade family.
Yeah, that's amazing, man. Over 30 years, and then you recently celebrated the anniversary of Eating Back to Life. Looking back, did you ever imagine that you'd be where you're at now with like one of the top? I don't know. I know maybe the word mainstream might mainstream might be a little like a bad word in this case, but
Right.
like one of the top mainstream death metal bands, so successful after 30 years. Did you ever think I'm gonna be a success in that manner?
Of course not. I mean, there's no way. I mean, you know, we're just everything. It's been beyond any of our wildest dreams or thoughts or anything of that nature. Because yeah, when you start out, you know, we're kids basically, and you know, you're just wanting to make music that you love to make. You know, and I think we all were realistic about everything. Was you know, sure, you want great things to happen to your bands. You know, who doesn't, right? You
Mhm.
know, I mean, and you have those dreams and those thoughts, but you're not counting on it. You're not banking on it. You know, you're not expecting it.
Yeah.
So when it all came to light, you know, and it was always just like one shock after another. You know, like
Yeah.
wow, this is happening, and you know, we're doing this and we're doing that. We're going, you know, whatever. And then exactly, you wouldn't think you. I remember back in the day, just going, you know, if we came out with one CD like Eating Back to Life, and you know, and it ended tomorrow, and you know, we got to do a tour. I mean, you could die happy. You go,
Mm.
wow. I mean, I had a little success. My music went to you know to the masses, and I you know got to see a little bit of the world, and you know that's amazing. That's what more than you can ever ask for, you
Mhm.
know, or thought of at that point, you
Mhm.
know. And then for everything to be what it has been, 30 plus years, and for where we're at, and exactly, I know what you mean about the mainstream thing. I mean, you know, we've been around so long that you know people know who we are, even if you don't listen to death metal or what have you. You know, chances are you heard the name Cannibal Corpse just out of you know we've been around forever. You know, we're dinosaurs in that way. So who would we would have never thought? I mean, no way. It was just it's still kind of you know remarkable and overwhelming in a lot of ways, or just unbelievable that you know here we are talking about it.
Yeah.
Like, what the hell? How did this happen?
Mhm.
So I mean, we're very grateful
Yeah.
for it, though. That's for
Did you recall a moment, which I'm sure there's probably been several moments, one after the other, just piling on? Like, do you recall a moment when you realize, holy shit, we're onto something here, or like, oh my god, like we're, you know, we're our status, we're bigger than we thought we'd ever be, or
probably when we went to Europe for the first time. I mean, when you know, just making an album was huge. Obviously, I'll never forget. Right, you know, we're only a band for what 8 months, and we're signing our first, you know, our contracts with Metal Blade,
amazing. Yeah.
and and that was just amazing in itself to go, oh my, holy shit, we're gonna make a CD. We got a record contract, and we're gonna
Mhm.
actually make an album, make a CD here, and record our music, and it's gonna get out there in the record stores. That's incredible, you know, right there. That was incredible. But you just don't know what's going on at that point because, right, you know, the fans don't know anything. They, you know, you haven't got out there yet. you're doing it,
Mhm.
but who knows what's going to happen, right?
Yeah.
And then we didn't really do much touring for Eating Back to Life. It was just kind of like local shows for the most part, and a lot of stuff in the Northeast, around the Buffalo area. So then when we put out Butchered at Birth, and then we're going to Europe for the first time, that's when I think it really hit a little more so, because, all right, now we're going on tour. Wow, we're going on a tour. We're going to Europe. That's just insane, right? And then when we got to Europe and the reaction that we had from the fans, it was like, this is crazy. Yeah, right. This is like, wow, that people are going ape shit over this,
Mhm.
and they love us. This is insane, right? So I think that's kind of when I remember it being a little more like, wow, this could be this could be the start of something here. I mean, people really are freaking out about us, which is
Mhm.
an amazing feeling. So I think that would have kind of started it all off in my view, anyways.
Right on, right on. Now you guys kind of transition between the Florida death metal scene and the New York death metal scene. What was your perspective from from both ends of the spectrum, from New York to Florida?
Well, I mean, we obviously grew up and started in Buffalo, Western New York there, and it was still a little bit different than maybe the New York City kind of scene, because Buffalo being where it's located, still 6.5 hours away, and all that kind of thing. Though a lot of New York bands came to Buffalo, and we went there a bunch of times. So the whole Northeast scene, was thriving. Buffalo was just it was a great scene back then, and we really didn't know much about, like, say, the Tampa scene per se, because we would only play down there, like, at that point. I mean, we moved in '94, right after we recorded The Bleeding. So you figured we probably, we played down in Florida a few times on tour, of course, and it was great shows and all that. But we, it's funny because we moved to Tampa, and it was pretty much because it came our second home from at recording Morrisound and all that kind of a thing. And we didn't move down there because it was the so-called, you know, uh, death metal capital of the world.
Mm.
It just so happened that there was so many bands that came from Tampa, and you had Obituary and Death and Morbid Angel at the time, Deicide. So you had this hotbed kind of a thing, and I think it was just more of kind of like almost like a coincidence that these bands are from there. Because a lot of them weren't from Florida either. You had a lot of implants going on,
Mhm.
and people coming from other places. So when we moved there, we didn't really, we weren't in the scene like we were in Buffalo, because in Buffalo, of course, we had to start out in the scene like that, playing local, playing the shows, opening for the bands and everything. And, we're not on tour. We're playing our local places in Buffalo. So when we moved to Florida, it wasn't like oh, hey, now we're in Florida. Now we're going to play the local bars in Florida all the time. Well, no, we're an established international band at this time. So it was a little different, but it was just really cool to be a part of, the movement, I guess, in a sense, where
Mhm.
so many bands were from down here, and then we're one of them, I guess, or a part of that. And it was definitely pretty cool to think, but yeah, but a little bit different, just the way it all worked out.
That's great. And coming along with over the decades of the transitions of the music scene, you've also seen the difference in recording techniques of being in the studio from analog to now digital. Like, tell us a little bit about your experience with like recording drums or recording full albums that you've seen from back in the day till now.
Oh yeah, huge difference, of course. I mean, we were at the tail end there of the analog days, right? With Eating Back to Life and Butchered at Birth and everything, and and it is crazy to think, right? Where Scott would be in there splicing tape, how they had to do all
Hmm.
that kind of stuff for editing and things of that nature, and it's such a different ball game, of course, from doing that to these days, the digital age, Pro Tools and all that, but. And then I think just in part due as well, the lack of time that you had. Obviously in the early days, Eaten Back to Life, I think that was done from start to finish in like 10 days,
Oh wow.
I mean, it was, you didn't have the time. You didn't, the
Mm-hmm.
budget wasn't there.
Right.
You're a little band. It's not like we got some great budget that we're going to, be able to record forever. So everything's done quickly and, done. Yeah, I think everything was done almost live on Eaten Back to Life for the most part. I mean, I think maybe they overdubbed the guitars and the vocals, but, we're trying to record as a band and, to do it that way nowadays is almost like it just doesn't happen for the most part. And, so it was cool to be a part of those, those analog days of, that, like you said, we caught the tail end of, and, and then, right, just as time went on, we had more time. So you're able to do more, every recording we did, we had a little more budget and we had a little bit more time to work on the record,
Mm-hmm.
and then exactly it takes us up to present day where you got months to work on a record, and, and that's that's it's a lot different, but it's cool. It's good to be able to record the way we do now, and
A little bit easier.
I think so. I think so.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, but at the same time, it kind of makes you a little more like, man, I kind of almost miss the old days, where you get a little more maybe reliant on Pro Tools and the easiness of that,
Right.
so you can, so you got to try not to be that way, you still want to go in, and I mean, I think we still look at it old school. You got to get in there. We got to know the material. You got to play as best as we can,
Right.
and then, obviously use the technology to our advantage when necessary. But it's definitely an easier way to record, of course, doing it digitally these days. I mean, you fight it for a while there, and then once you finally get it done and you do it, you're like, man, this is just the way it's got to be,
Yeah, right, of course. Again, we're here talking with Paul Mazurkiewicz, drummer of the legendary Cannibal Corpse. Violence Unimagined comes out in April, is that correct? Through
Yes, yes,
Metal Blade Records, their 15th
yeah.
release. Again, drummer to drummer, man. Let's talk some shop. Talk about some of the preparation that you went through, because if I was reading correctly, like this is you feel this is like some of the most intense drumming that you've done in some time, and your drumming is intense, period. But this one, it sounds like you had to push yourself a little bit more. Like, how did you prepare yourself for this one?
It's tough, right? I think it was my most intense drumming performance, physically and then mentally as well. I mean, it's not getting any easier in that way. Some pretty crazy stuff to have to learn here. But it's just really about just doing the daily things that you've been doing for years. Obviously getting older, so it's not going to come as natural like when you were younger, with having the adrenaline and just that natural energy that you got when you're 20 and 30 years old or what have you. So it was just a lot more practice, really, a lot more practice, a lot more pushing, a lot more extra work, in working out a little bit, some more exercises and stuff, and really just trying to do all those basic things. But, and then what I've been doing for years anyways, right? Try to eat right, try to eat as well as you can, get your rest, drink a lot of water. I mean, just the stuff you should be doing in general,
Right.
Stay healthy, and fit and, what have you. But really it comes down to just having to work, more at it, just put in the extra hours, put in the extra minutes, whatever it takes, because, it's not getting any easier. So really, I just had to kind of push myself to get it done and to learn the songs and to get them up to par and get them as best as I could. And ironically enough, too, for being the hardest that it probably ever was, we actually spent a little less time writing than we normally do. We kind of usually we give ourselves about 6 months or so of writing and prepping, and then we're in the studio. This time we had a little bit of less time. I think it was maybe like 4.5, 5 months, so it was almost a little more compact, which then makes that even more difficult. Then when you do it, and then you realize, geez, that extra month was always huge, having. So I think just having maybe just a hair shorter of of time before we went into the studio really made me have to, no choice but to, to push even extra harder as well,
Right.
Yeah, that's all you can do.
Yeah.
You just gotta, you just gotta keep pushing.
Yeah.
That's all you can do.
And how's your back? Like if I can mention, like I remember seeing the video, behind the scenes footage when you recorded a torture, and like you had a little bit of back issues and stuff like that, and you had to like take a break. How's your back these days? Are you doing better?
Yeah. Yeah, my back's been fine, and it's funny too because I know
Hmm.
we documented that whole torture session and everything, and that was the only time my back has ever been thrown out from me playing the drums. That was so
Wow.
bizarre that happened. Yeah, very strange,
Mm.
And I remember, yeah, it's well documented, obviously, and it's never happened since.
Oh,
I mean,
good,
of
good.
course, I've hurt my back here and there,
Yeah,
but
same
not never
here.
playing drums. It's always something stupid.
Right.
Um,
Getting
but
off the
but
couch.
yeah, exactly. Bending down to pick something up or just
Yeah.
something completely
Yeah.
ridiculous.
Yeah.
So luckily, it's never happened when I'm drumming.
Yeah.
But you know what? Since then, though, I have done a lot to really try to work on my core,
Good.
really try to work on my back strength and everything. I was doing a lot of exercises in the last few years, and it's really helped. I mean, I've noticed that. Not that I ever, like I said, had back problems. I mean, now and then it does happen, especially the older you get, right?
Right.
And if you're doing some physical stuff, you can easily get back issues here and there.
Yeah.
And that's my issues were that they
Yeah.
were just very sporadic here and there. Nothing pressing, nothing major that I'm like have to be worried about my back.
Right.
But ever since doing these exercises and really trying to strengthen my back and my core, I've noticed a huge difference in my drumming ability and just my back in general
Good.
of not having to worry about that.
Good.
So
Yeah.
so knock on wood, I just don't do anything dumb here to throw it out.
That's good. That's good. I mentioned that because, like I said, as a drummer, like I have back issues too sometimes, and like at the weirdest times. So it's like it's good. That's good for I think drummers and anybody to know, just keep your shape, keep your health wise, and especially your back, man. Oof, that's tough to
Yeah,
recover from sometimes.
it is. It really is, and yeah, the more you can keep up on it, a few exercises a day, for a few minutes, it goes a long way, especially if you do that, you have some longevity with that. But yeah, that is key, especially for drummers, right?
Right, right. Now, I don't want to take up any more of your time, but just really quick, I can't help but mention, like, if you could give us just a brief, like, little a background story on how is it that Cannibal Corpse got involved with Ace Ventura Pet Detective? How did that come about?
Yeah, always a good one, always a classic. I mean, it was very big for us in the band and death metal in general. I mean, yeah, it was all Jim Carrey, really. It was all Jim Carrey wanting Cannibal Corpse in his movie. So we got very fortunate and lucky that he found death metal intriguing at that time and extreme music and everything. And, yeah, I'll never forget we were in Buffalo, still living there at the time, and got a call from Metal Blade saying they got a call from Jim Carrey's people, and hey, he wants us to be in the movie. And we're like, what the heck? This is, this is crazy. Not the call you're expecting from your record label, right? And, so that's basically how it came about, I mean, and then obviously, right, the rest is kind of, already known. I mean, it was so huge to be in that movie. So many fans got into death metal because of seeing us in that movie, or got into Cannibal Corpse because of seeing us in it and everything. So it was a win-win. I mean, obviously the movie did great as well. So you think of the millions of people that saw that movie and, and people that still maybe don't even know we were in it, but obviously the people that did know we were in it, never forgot. And we've heard so many stories of the, oh, first time I ever saw you or heard of you guys was in Ace Ventura. I just saw that and freaked out. What the heck? And I had to go seek it out. So what a huge push for the band, of
Right.
course. And and it was a lot of fun to do, a lot of fun to be a part of. But we just got, all we got to do is really thank Jim Carrey for that one. So
That's awesome. Yeah, we thank him too. I mean, they really really brought Cannibal Corpse to light for a lot of people that, like you said, weren't aware of the band. But that's
yes,
awesome.
right.
Any last words? Like, again, Paul Mazurkiewicz, drummer for Cannibal Corpse, their new album Violence Unimagined, coming out in April. Anything you want to tell the fans about Violence Unimagined?
Well, I just want to, thank the fans for their constant support, and I think everyone's just going to enjoy this record. I can't wait for everybody to hear it, and we're very excited for that. And I think yeah, that's all I can say is really I think the fans are really going to really enjoy this album a lot. So I just can't wait for them to hear it. So
Awesome. Very, very cool. Again, this is Francisco with KNEC.com. You can find me on Instagram or Twitter at MetalXCandy. Paul, it's been a pleasure to talk to you, man. Longtime fan, and give horns and fist bumps to the rest of the Cannibal Corpse camp. Looking forward to the new album, Violence Unimagined, due out in April through Metal Blade Records. And once all this pandemic bullshit's lifted, we can't wait to see you on the road.
I appreciate it, man. No, thank you for the interview. I know, can't wait to be out on the road again and see everybody. And I'm sure everyone's excited and or getting impatient for that. But eventually it'll happen, and we're all looking forward to that time. So
Very, very
thanks
cool.
again, man.
Thank you very much.
All right, Francisco.